Johnny B. Goode. In the heart of Louisiana, where the Mississippi River winds its way through the lush countryside, a small cabin was nestled among the cypress trees. This humble abode was home to the Blake family, and it was here that young Johnny Blake first laid his fingers on the strings of an old battered guitar. Johnny was just 10 when he discovered the instrument, hidden away in the attic like a long-forgotten treasure. It had belonged to his grandfather, a man he'd never met, but whose legend loomed large in family stories. As Johnny plucked at the rusty strings, something awakened within him, a rhythm that seemed to pulse through his very soul. Every day after school, Johnny would rush home eager to practice. His mother, Sarah, would watch from the porch, a bittersweet smile on her face. She saw in Johnny the same fire that had burned in his grandfather's eyes, and while it filled her with pride, it also kindled a spark of worry. The life of a musician was not easy, especially for a poor black boy from the backwoods of Louisiana. But Johnny's determination was unwavering. He'd sit for hours, call using his fingers as he tried to replicate the sounds he heard on the radio. At night, when the house was quiet, he'd sneak out to the porch and play softly under the starlit sky, the fireflies dancing to his improvised melodies. As the years passed, Johnny's skill grew exponentially. By age 15, he could play any song after hearing it once. His fingers flew across the fretboard with a speed and precision that astounded onlookers. The local church became his first stage, and soon the congregation was swelling with people who came not just for the sermon, but to be moved by the transformative power of young Johnny Blake's music. Word of Johnny's talent spread through the county like wildfire. Soon, he was invited to play at local gatherings, county fairs, and even small clubs in nearby towns. Sarah watched with pride and apprehension as her son's star began to rise. One sweltering summer evening, a stranger in a sharp suit approached him during his break as Johnny was playing at a local dance hall. The man introduced himself as Max Goldstein, a talent scout from New Orleans. "Kid," Max said, his eyes gleaming excitedly, "you've got something special. How'd you like to come play in the Big Easy?" Johnny's heart raced at the prospect, but he hesitated. He looked at his mother, who was watching from the sidelines with concern etched on her face. I don't know, Mr. Goldstein. I can't just leave my mama." Max nodded understandingly. "Tell you what, son. Think it over. I'll be in town for a couple more days. Here's my card. If you change your mind, give me a call." That night, Johnny and Sarah had a long talk. She could see the yearning in her son's eyes, the burning desire to chase his dreams. With tears in her eyes, she cupped his face in her hands. "Your grandpa would be so proud of you, Johnny. You've got his gift, and keeping it hidden away here would be a shame. Go. Go and show the world what you can do," she said, her words a testament to the unwavering support and love that fueled Johnny's journey. 2 days later, with nothing but his guitar, a small suitcase of clothes, and his mother's blessing, Johnny boarded a bus to New Orleans. The city was like nothing he'd ever seen, a vibrant, pulsing metropolis full of music and life. Max set him up with gigs at small clubs along Bourbon Street, and night after night, Johnny electrified audiences with his lightning-fast guitar work and soulful voice. It wasn't long before Johnny Blake became the talk of the New Orleans music scene. Record executives began to take notice, and soon Johnny found himself in a real recording studio, laying down tracks for his first single. The song, "Louisiana Lightning," shot up the local charts, its infectious rhythm and Johnny's virtuosic guitar work capturing the hearts of listeners across the state. As Johnny's fame grew, so did the demands on his time. He was touring more, playing bigger venues, and spending less time at home. Sarah would listen to his songs on the radio, her heart swelling with pride, even as she missed her boy terribly. But fame came with its own set of challenges. The music industry in the late 1950s was still deeply segregated, and Johnny faced discrimination at every turn. Some venues refused to let him play, while others only allowed him to enter through the back door. There were nights when Johnny wanted to quit, to go back to the simplicity of playing on his front porch in Louisiana. During one of these low moments, Johnny met Ella Thompson, a fiery young civil rights activist who was organizing protests against segregation in the music industry. Ella saw in Johnny not just a talented musician, but a potential symbol for change. "Your music speaks to people, Johnny," she told him one night after a particularly disheartening gig. "It bridges gaps. People don't see color when you play, they just hear the music. That's powerful. You can use that to make a difference." Inspired by Ella's words, and encouraged by her unwavering support, Johnny began to use his growing platform to speak out against injustice. He refused to play in segregated venues, and used his interviews to highlight the struggles faced by black musicians. It was a risky move. Some radio stations banned his music, and he lost bookings, but it also earned him a dedicated following of fans who admired his talent and principles. As the 1960s dawned, Johnny Blake was at the forefront of a musical revolution. Rock and roll was exploding in popularity, and Johnny's unique blend of blues, country, and rhythm and blues put him in high demand. He played alongside some of the biggest names in the industry, his reputation growing with each electrifying performance. In 1962, Johnny achieved a milestone that seemed impossible just a few years earlier. He became the first black artist to headline at the prestigious Hollywood Bowl. As he stood on that stage, looking out at the sea of faces, black and white, young and old, Johnny felt a triumph beyond personal success. He was opening doors, paving the way for others to follow. After the show, as the applause still rang in his ears, Johnny called Louisiana. "Mama," he said, his voice choked with emotion, "I wish you could have been here tonight." Sarah's voice was filled with pride as she replied, "I was there, baby. I was listening to the radio. You played beautifully." As the years passed, Johnny Blake became a household name, his influence extending beyond music. He used his wealth and influence to set up music programs in underprivileged communities, giving other young talents the opportunity he had fought for. In 1985, at the height of his career, Johnny returned to his hometown in Louisiana for a special concert. The entire town turned out to welcome home their native son. As he took the stage, his eyes found his mother in the front row, her face beaming with pride. Johnny addressed the crowd before playing his first song, "I've played all over the world, but there's no place like home. Everything I am and achieved started right here, with an old guitar and a dream." As the first chords rang out, Johnny locked eyes with his mother, and in that moment he was transported back to those early days on the porch, playing under the stars. The music flowed through him, as pure and potent as ever. Johnny Blake's journey from a small cabin in Louisiana to the world stage was more than a personal success story. It was a testament to the power of music to transcend boundaries, inspire change, and touch hearts. Through his talent, perseverance, and courage, Johnny had not just made a name for himself, he had helped to change the face of American music forever. As the last notes of his final song faded away, the applause thundering through the night air, Johnny knew that his grandfather would indeed be proud. He had taken that old guitar and made it sing in ways that had once seemed impossible. In doing so, he wrote his unforgettable chapter in the Great American Songbook.